Brothers and sisters of Africa, sons and daughters of the land that gave birth to us all, I stand before you not merely as the president of Burkina Faso, but as the voice of a new generation of Africans who refuse to bow, who refuse to be divided, who refuse to be used as pawns. Today my words are not only for my own people, they are for a proud nation in the south of our continent, a nation that has stood as a beacon of stability, a nation whose history of democracy is admired across the world. My words are for Botswana, and they are for my brother, President Duma Boko. President Boko, Botswana is a land of dignity, of diamonds and cattle, of strong men and women who have built a country that others in Africa look to with respect. You have shown that Africans can govern themselves, that we can prosper without bending the knee to outside masters. You have kept your democracy alive even when storms have blown around you. For this I salute you. But the winds that are sweeping across Africa now are not gentle breezes. They are storms of interference, storms of exploitation, storms of terror groups that move across our borders like shadows. The same forces that once drew maps to cut us apart now draw new maps to exploit our minerals, our land, and our people. They come with bases, with weapons, with contracts written in languages not our own. They come promising help, but delivering chains. In the Sahel, we have not merely read about instability in newspapers, we have lived it day after day, night after night. In Mali, in Niger, in Burkina Faso, the reality has been raw and unrelenting. Villages that had stood for centuries were reduced to ashes. Markets once filled with laughter and the smell of millet became silent ruins. Our soldiers, sons and daughters of ordinary families, were ambushed on lonely roads, killed by insurgents who crossed borders with ease. Our sovereignty was mocked openly by groups who answered to no flag but were armed and funded from outside. We were told to be patient, to wait for help, to allow foreign troops to decide our destiny, and to trust in promises drafted in far-off capitals. We waited, we bled, we buried our children. We watched mothers wail over the graves of young men who had barely begun to live. We watched communities fracture as people fled in fear, crossing rivers and deserts to seek safety that never came. We saw foreign forces build bases, move convoys, and hold press conferences, but we did not see security return to our homes. Every funeral felt like a verdict on the old way of doing things, on waiting, on pleading, on outsourcing our survival. Then, at last, something in us broke, or rather, something in us awoke. We looked at one another, across borders drawn by colonizers, and realized that the only help coming was the help we gave ourselves. Enough, we said. Enough funerals, enough waiting, enough humiliation. We resolved to take our destiny back into our own hands. That is how the Alliance of Sahel States, the AES, was born. Not from bureaucratic meetings, but from necessity, from pain, from courage. The AES is more than a treaty written in ink. It is a pact written in blood and in solidarity. It is a shield forged by Africans for Africans, hammered into shape by our shared suffering and our shared hope. Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, three nations once divided by colonial borders, now standing as one body. When one is attacked, all respond. When one is threatened, all stand. When one bleeds, all bandage the wound. This is not an empty slogan, it is the daily practice of our alliance. For the first time in generations, our soldiers train together, plan together, and deploy together. Our intelligence is pooled, our strategies coordinated, our voices united on the world stage. We are no longer waiting for permission to defend ourselves. We are no longer allowing foreign armies to define our security priorities. We are acting decisively, collectively, proudly. This, my brothers and sisters, is the spirit of true independence. Independence is not a flag or an anthem while decisions are made elsewhere. Independence is the ability to protect your people, control your land, and choose your friends. Independence is the courage to say no to those who would divide you and yes to those who stand beside you in dignity. The AES embodies that courage. It is the first step toward an Africa where no village is left undefended, no government is left isolated, and no enemy, whether terrorist, mercenary, or economic predator can pick us off one by one. We know the road will be long, but we have already begun to walk it together, and in our unity, in our shared struggle, a new kind of hope has taken root in the Sahel, a hope that the rest of Africa can feel and join. President Boko, Botswana may not be in the Sahel, but you are not immune to the forces that have scarred our lands. Geography may separate you from our deserts, but geography is no wall in this modern world. Terror knows no border. Exploitation knows no border. Economic blackmail knows no border. What begins as a flicker in one region can quickly ignite another. The same currents that have swept Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso with violence can, in time, sweep across southern Africa. And the same forces that fuel instability here are already circling your wealth, your institutions, your people. You know as well as I do that the powers which destabilize one region do so to weaken the whole of Africa. They do not sow chaos out of misunderstanding. They sow it because a fragmented Africa is a profitable Africa. They fund groups that move like shadows, playing them off against governments, then offer themselves as indispensable mediators. They whisper into the ears of our leaders, then smile for the cameras while our villages burn. A weak Africa is their business model. Our disunity is their currency. You know how many times our leaders have been courted with gifts while our people suffer? You have seen the convoys of dignitaries and consultants arriving in our capitals with briefcases of promises. They speak of partnerships and reforms, of investments and aid, but behind the polished words are calculations of control. They offer scholarships for our children, but contracts for their companies. They offer loans for our roads, but conditions that make those roads theirs. They build us training camps, but they train our soldiers to depend on them. They invite us to conferences, but only to applaud their strategies. You know this as well as I do, because Botswana has not been blind to the ways of the world. You know how many foreign bases are planted on African soil in the name of partnership. They say they are here to protect us, to help us, to fight a common enemy. But who gave them this right? Who invited them without conditions? These bases are built with barbed wire and secrecy. They sprout like mushrooms after rain, and each one is a reminder of how easily our sovereignty is signed away. They call them facilities and logistics hubs and training centers, but they are outposts of influence. They map our terrain, they monitor our skies, they watch our leaders. And every time we allow one more base, we surrender one more piece of our dignity. You know that the debts they offer us are traps. The agreements they propose are shackles. The security they promise is a leash. They hand out loans as if they are gifts, but hidden in the small print are claws that dig into our budgets for decades. They propose public partnerships where the private is always foreign and the public is always African. They say joint security operations, but their soldiers decide the targets and our people pay the price. They sell us weapons, but forbid us to make our own. They tell us how to teach our children, how to run our elections, how to price our minerals. In every handshake there is a chain. This is the pattern. This is the trap. This is why no African nation, not even one as stable as Botswana, can feel safe, simply because it is far from the Sahel. Your diamonds are no protection. Your democracy is no shield. If we remain separate, we remain vulnerable. If we remain silent, we remain complicit. Only by standing together, by building our own alliances, by refusing to be pawns can we break this cycle. President Boko, you know this in your heart. That is why I call on you to act, not tomorrow, but today. This is why today, with respect but with urgency, I call on you and on the people of Botswana to take your rightful place beside us. Join the AES. Stand shoulder to shoulder with the Sahel states in a new African security pact. Bring your soldiers, your intelligence, your voice, your moral authority. Help us build an African shield that stretches from the deserts of the north to the grasslands of the south. Together we can show the world that Africa is not a chessboard. We are a continent of nations with our own will, our own pride, our own destiny. Some will whisper to you that joining the AES is dangerous, that it will anger powerful friends in Europe or in Washington. They will tell you to stay neutral, to keep your head down, to enjoy your stability while the rest of Africa burns. But neutrality in the face of injustice is not wisdom, it is surrender. Stability without solidarity is an illusion. When your neighbor's house is on fire and you do not help, the flames will one day reach your door. The same networks that smuggle arms into the Sahel pass through southern Africa. The same corporations that drain our uranium in Niger eye your diamonds in Botswana. The same think tanks that plot our future in secret rooms draw up plans for your economy too. Do not wait until the fire is at your doorstep. I know some in Botswana fear losing sovereignty by joining an alliance. Let me be clear. The AES is not a foreign power. It is not an empire. It is not a new colonizer. It is Africans coming together to protect African sovereignty. You will not be taking orders from Ouagadougou, Bamako, or Niamey. You will be taking orders from your own people, but with allies at your side. You will have access to shared intelligence, joint training, rapid deployment forces to crush terror cells before they take root. You will have a voice in shaping a new security architecture where Africa speaks for itself, not through intermediaries. You will be part of a collective deterrent that tells the world, no more bases without our consent. No more deals signed in the shadows. No more dictating our politics through sanctions and pressure. Imagine a Botswana soldier standing next to a Burkina soldier, next to a Malian soldier, next to a Nigerian soldier, under one flag of African defense. Imagine our air forces sharing skies, our economies sharing corridors, our intelligence services sharing data, so that an attack on one is an attack on all. This is not a dream, we are already building it. It works because we trust each other and because we act, not because we wait for permission. Not because we act, not because we wait for permission. Some will say Botswana is different. Botswana is far away. Botswana has no jihadists crossing its borders. But President Boko, remember, when Africa was carved up at Berlin, they carved lines that had nothing to do with our people's realities. When they exploit Congo's cobalt, it affects your car industry. When they militarize the Sahel, it affects your trade routes. When they impose unfair trade regimes, it affects your farmers. You cannot hide behind distance. In today's world, distance is an illusion. Joining the AES also means economic opportunity. We are planning joint infrastructure, joint procurement of military equipment, joint negotiation with external partners. Together we can pool resources for technology, agriculture, energy. Together we can create an African development bank that serves Africans, not creditors abroad. Botswana's expertise in governance, resource management, and democratic institutions can help guide the AES toward transparency and accountability. You can shape this alliance from within, making it stronger, fairer, and more credible. I know you care for your people. I know you do not want to drag Botswana into chaos, but let me tell you, chaos is coming if we remain divided. The only antidote is unity. Our unity will deter aggression. Our unity will end the era of African leaders being picked off one by one, pressured one by one, overthrown one by one. Our unity will send a message. Africa is awake. Africa is standing. Africa will decide its own future. People of Botswana, hear me clearly. You are not only citizens of the South, you are citizens of Africa. The Kalahari Desert may stretch wide, the Limpopo may flow far, but no border of sand or river can separate you from the fate of the continent. You are woven into the same tapestry as the farmers of Burkina Faso, the miners of Niger, the herders of Mali. When one thread is pulled, the whole cloth is weakened. When one part of Africa is targeted, every other part feels the tremor. Your destiny is not a distant, isolated destiny. It is bound to ours, bound to the dreams of millions across this continent. The AES is not a club of the Sahel, not a narrow circle of states huddled together for survival. It is the seed of a continental defense system, an idea whose roots can grow in every soil from the Sahara to the Cape. It is a living expression of our shared will to be free, to protect what is ours, to decide our own future. You plant that seed in fertile ground, and the tree that grows will shelter you too. When you join at this stage, you do more than take a seat at a table. You help shape the table itself. You help write the rules before others impose theirs. You help design the mechanisms of African security with your own hands, rather than receiving them as a finished package from outside powers. You show your children that Botswana did not wait until the new Africa was built to knock on the door. Botswana helped lay the first stones. History remembers builders, not spectators. This is the moment to stand as the generation that said no more. No more neo-colonialism disguised as aid. No more divide and rule dressed up as partnership. No more waiting for saviors who never come, for missions that never end, for promises that never materialize. You have seen how often our continent is asked to be patient, to compromise, to phase in our sovereignty as if it were a privilege granted by others. You have seen how, when we hesitate, others step in to fill the space, to draw the contracts, to deploy the troops, to shape the narrative. The longer we wait, the narrower our options become. Joining the AES now is an act of self-respect. It is an affirmation that Botswana's hard-won stability will not be used as an excuse to look away from the struggles of its neighbors, but as a contribution to lifting the whole continent. It is a signal to your youth, the ones who see news from the Sahel on their phones and wonder whether they will inherit a free Africa or a fractured one, that you have chosen courage over comfort. People of Botswana, your history has prepared you for this. Your tradition of good governance, your culture of consultation, your pride in your independence. These are exactly the qualities the AES needs to grow into a continental system. You have something vital to bring, not just troops or money, but legitimacy and vision. And you will gain not just allies, but a shield, a voice, and a seat in shaping a future where Africans defend Africans. Do not let this moment pass you by. The seed has been planted. Help it take root. The chance to shape the rules is here. Seize it before others write them for you. The time for waiting has ended. The time for acting has come. Stand up, step forward, and be counted among the builders of the new Africa. President Boko, my brother, I extend my hand to you not as a demand, but as an invitation to greatness. Our peoples will remember the leaders who chose courage over comfort, solidarity over silence, action over excuses. History is watching us. The youth of Africa are watching us. They march in Ouagadougou, in Bamako, in Niamey with one cry: dignity, sovereignty, unity. They march in Gaborone too. Give them an answer worthy of their hope. Stand with us. Join the AES. Let Botswana's blue flag fly alongside ours as a sign that a new Africa is being born. And without compromise, I do not promise an easy road. The forces we challenge are rich, powerful, and cunning. They will try to divide us. They will try to bribe us. They will try to isolate and punish us. But if we stand together, if we move as one, no army on earth can break us. They cannot sanction an entire continent. They cannot intimidate a united Africa. They cannot erase our dignity when it burns in millions of hearts. This is our moment. This is our chance. In the name of the martyrs of our struggles, in the name of our ancestors who resisted conquest, in the name of our children yet unborn, I call on Botswana to join us. Let us write a new chapter where African security is in African hands, where African wealth serves African people, where African borders are not lines of division, but lines of defense. Let us show the world that the time of begging is over, the time of betrayal is over, the time of unity has come. Stand with us, President Boko. Stand with us, people of Botswana. The door of the AES is open. The shield of Africa is rising. Together we can protect our continent, our dignity, our future. Together we can turn the page on centuries of exploitation. Together we can be the generation that said enough and meant it. The hour is late, but it is not too late. Join us now.